exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter, News Notes Need on Twitter, also CB Caps on Instagram. See, it's like right there underneath me, right there. Boom, boom. And with me over here, this direction is AJ_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody?
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
That was nice. That was good, really good. And also with us tonight, I don't want to say the Randy Savage of comics because that doesn't sound. That does. And can't hear you.
Yeah. It's got to unmute.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, he's even got the belt. Okay, so he's ready.
I need pomp and circumstance. That's the next thing.
I got to get this nice. He's down here underneath me. PC_Derek on Twitter.
I was gonna ask if you guys had any recommendations.
Yeah, well, that one's kind of was on the fly, so we can't. Next time we know.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, PC_Dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com, and of all of his umbrella sites they're in.
Whoa!
Wait, what is that other belt behind you? Huh. Oh, well, all right then.
That's right.
All right. Any words to take over the AIW
or AEW?
Yeah, that I don't know which one it is. I don't know. I don't follow wrestling. Oh snap! What? Right? Yeah, somebody did. I did see that.
What?
So, well, when we found
all the
out,
wrestling all the time.
What?
No, let's kill that right here, right now. And not with us here tonight, also a wrestling fan, obviously, oddly enough. Tim TOGG98 on Twitter. I'm the lonely standout here, sadly. CB Cron on Twitter, also. DClick Nation on Twitter. That's BKLIQNATION. DClickNation.com, and also Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. You can find this here program on CSPN.us, the Cold Slither Podcast Network.
Do it today.
That's right. And also, you can find us at Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, although I should probably start saying iTunes since they got that nifty new web thing for whatever now. Spotify and the Cold Slither Podcast Network. Spotify, no, it's not Spotify page. SoundCloud page. All right, gents, let's get into this. Get far away from that wrestling talk and get into the books of the week.
What?
Gotta be where it gotta be. With hey, you watch your mouth. You watch your mouth. I mean, there are cases where that could be a thing, but not here, not now.
Love it.
Justice League number 31. Yes, 31. Gentlemen, tell me about this issue, please. Oh, there you go. So let's move on to the next book.
I mean, in the briefest way, of to describe this issue, it's basically there's a mild cliffhanger at the end of the previous issue, and the JLA basically there's two different groups, two different away groups that are now set to acquaint themselves in the past. One with the Justice Society of America, and in the future with Kamandi, the last boy on Earth. And there are reasons why they are in these respective time periods, and they're trying to figure out what the LOD. And there's another wrestling reference. The Legion of Doom in DC canon.
Hey, to be fair, DC had that first, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Mhm. Who doesn't?
Definitely. So, oh, go ahead. Right. So it's not exactly false advertising, but yeah, I know what you mean. Mhm. It's also necessary for anyone who's picking this up for the first time. Right.
Does question answer his own question? Exactly. I mean,
But
not unlike
yeah, there's definitely a stylish look. There's definitely a style to this. It's not cookie cutter.
who's the artist?
I'm scrolling now to find out. Um, Jorge Jimenez,
Oh,
or
okay,
George Jimenez, depending on pronunciation.
sure.
Um, I was just going to mention there is a cliffhanger ending that did take me by surprise. But I haven't been keeping up with, or maybe just my memory's a little shoddy of what's happened in the last several issues of Justice League to get that to compute. Correct. Correct. Okay. Oh, there's a spoiler. We were trying to not spoil. I said there's a cliffhanger ending.
Okay.
Sorry about that, folks. So right.
Yeah,
So anyway, so yeah, so the story ends on a cliffhanger, and there is uh both there's a cliffhanger for both the future team and and the past team. So we'll see where that goes in the next issue. So the cover copy that said "The War Begins Here" wasn't a complete undersell, let's say. Um it was here, and we'll see a lot more of this. I was very surprised that this. I felt like this just shipped last week. Didn't we just have Justice League 30 last week? Oh, was it 2 weeks? Okay, has it? Okay.
Yeah, I was about
It
to say feels
feels
like
yeah, it feels like it. So, um, it's definitely sticking to its biweekly schedule, and that's a good thing for them. Not so good for everyone's wallets though. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
yes,
Uh,
very much
yeah,
so.
yeah.
I guess speaking of, if we're done with that one, wait. So what was the other book you had alluded to? Did you want to go ahead? Did you want to go ahead and get that one out of the way, or since it's kind of sort of not really tied?
Mhm. Right. 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 Yeah, it's weird that they're running concurrently. I was just going to mention I did not finish this. I appreciate that the PCN underscore dirt didn't spoil everything, but but I wanted to note that this is an artist jam book. There are a number of different artists working on these little vignettes that he was referring to just now, and the jump in artists. I'm just flipping through our review copy now. It's a little jarring. We start off with some classic Jim Lee stuff, and we move on, and the change in art is definitely it will take some getting used to when I finally sit down and finish reading this. But as he said, it's kind of weird that the I guess protagonist in this book, the central character in this issue at least, is just this like D or E or F list character. So, it took me a second to understand, and I'm glad for and I was happy for the quick explanation up front saying that, "Oh, this is such and such," you know, "I used to be, such and such, and now I do this." I'm like, "Who are you? Am I gonna need to find a DC Who's Who issue, in the back issue a bin?" But, I was glad at least for the explanation. Right, 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 right. Mm, Sure. Gotcha. All right.
Well, I guess to round this triple threat out, then you know where we got to go now. House of X. No, I'm just kidding. Doomsday Clock number 11.
Okay. All right.
Well, if you have a hard time remembering what's been going on for the last year and a half that this book has been coming out, this is the issue for you. Because
You mean the penultimate one?
this is really okay. Now let's go back. Let's explain everything that's been going on.
Right.
Put it in simpler terms so everybody can be reminded and hopefully understand. So now we can get ready to move forward.
Yes. That's my note exactly. There's so much exposition here to explain everything that happened in the first 8 or 9 issues. Like PCN_Dirt several months back said, when I forget what issue you said, you could just trash everything else and start here and you'll get everything. I feel like you could start at like issue 10 or 9 of this and be like, all right, I'm good for the next couple of issues, because you don't necessarily had to have read the first 8 books in this series to understand what's going on.
Well, and part of it was we had some other characters that were brought in as red herrings as the story went along.
Right.
For you to think, oh, I need to pay attention and figure out what's with these characters because they're going to be a big part, obviously, because they've been brought in. And then it turns out they were just pawns. They didn't really matter. And we get some of that explanation here. So it does kind of answer some of those questions if you've been reading it for a while, that you know, like now, like, oh, okay, well, now that's why those characters have kind of dropped off and disappeared. And then we also get explanation behind questions that we had. You know, the story starts in the original Watchmen universe, but going forward a few years.
Right.
And so this kind of fills in some of that space that we never really heard about, that maybe you could have picked up some of it from reading stuff that was written in Rorschach's journal or some of the news clippings, whatever. But now we've gotten to the point where they're just kind of like, okay, this is what happened. Here's where I was. This is how this led into this. And this is how this led into that. And as it does it, though, it gets to the end and there's this whole new kind of warped history, messed up timeline stuff that just gets dropped out of nowhere, where suddenly you're like, wait a minute, where did this come from? Why are we now looking at this? We only have one more issue to go, and now you've kind of wrapped up all this other stuff from the past, and you're introducing something new out of nowhere. And also another thing was Saturn Girl, who's been in the story so far. It looked like something was going to happen with her to explain the Legion of Superheroes and how we reconnect, and because she's still here, but we're getting the new Legion series, and she appears in the Legion has made 2 appearances now in Supergirl and Superman. You'd expect that somehow she connects back because there she is appearing in those books as a younger version of herself from an alternate future. Like, how does this work? And basically, no, she's just, it's like, oh, you're still here, you don't exist anymore. And she just does this, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Right.
And disappears and she's gone from history. So
right. Like, we're not sure she's a complete red herring. We're also not sure this is why, because of the delays, that they had to redo that section.
Right. Like, yeah, has she been a red herring or is she a retcon now because it's taken so long and so many other things have happened in the DC universe?
A retcon in its own book. Yeah.
Right. A retcon in the retcon series. Yeah. It's a retcon series that's retconning the retcon that happened in 2011. So it's a retcon in the retcon of the retcon. Of course, that retcon was from Infinite Crisis, which was a retcon from 0 Hour, which was a retcon from Crisis.
God,
which was a retcon from the Silver Age.
Oh my God! The fact that I actually understood that is just killing me right now. Oh my God!
I stopped listening halfway through that.
Even like a very casual reader of the DC universe, such as myself, understood that because of the various crises and reboots. I'm like, oh my God, how many times are we changing this?
And even that with the Supergirl Superman reprint thing that's been happening the last couple of weeks. If you've seen the stories about the reprints and the change that's been made inside, there's even kind of a retcon during the retcon
Really?
of the retcon. I mean, it's kind of a minor thing that happens. I don't know if you've looked into that story at all.
No, not yet.
With the changes, but yeah,
kind of we alluded to it, just not the what caused it. I think,
Yeah, so I mean, on the one hand, they said, "Hey, the covers no longer match the story that's on the inside," which is true. They don't. The story has taken a turn, so they don't fit. So, that works. But then there's something once you go in and start flipping through the pages, and you get towards the end, there is another change that happens in these books that is kind of retconning something that was brand new as part of this retcon that's already being retconned. So, just kind of interesting the way that's happening. And again, not judging, just saying,
right.
little kind of weird change that's going on in the middle of all that. So I don't know if that's, and part of that could be DC Comics is kind of in a weird spot right now, where they are on the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the totem pole in the Warner Media Group at the moment. Like, I don't know if maybe AT&T Now streaming TV service may be below DC Comics, and that may be the only thing below DC Comics in their hierarchy at the moment. Everything else seems to be in a much bigger spot. So I don't know if this is them like struggling, new management, new corporate policies, or just trying to get attention and trying to get some momentum,
right?
And get someone to pay attention to them. Because DC Entertainment, which has split from DC Publishing, DC Comics, with the movies, at least, people are kind of excited for the new Harley Quinn movie, and they're kind of excited for an Aquaman 2, and they're kind of excited for a new Flash and a new Batman, some of that stuff coming out. But the printing side, the publishing side, is not doing very good at all.
Gotcha.
Yay.
I was going to add, before we move on, do you think it's because they're not necessarily coordinating, or is it because Doomsday Clock falling behind so much really screwed everything up? Like, screwed up the master plan? Well,
no, I don't think there's any one thing. I think there's about 12 different things happening at the same time. From recently they just decided to get rid of Vertigo and to get rid of what was the other one? I forget what the other one was.
Burger Books.
No, Burger's. Well, she moved from Vertigo to Dark Horse to start Burger Books.
Oh, right, that's right.
There was something else in the DC.
Well, Vertigo and everything except for Young Animal.
Right. So they basically folded everything together to get rid of these other. So now Black Label is like the only other thing there, and that kind of changed a lot of things, and that was more of a like corporate. We don't want to run all the separate stuff anymore, so stream it down, and DC's not publishing as many books per month as they used to, so there's that going on. So there's a lot of like uncertainty there, and you've got people leaving the company who've been there for a long time, and you've got management shifting around because AT&T and Time Warner and everything all merging and shifting and changing shape and everything, and trying to figure out how all this stuff is going to land, and people losing jobs as different things mesh together and all this kind of stuff. And they just made the move out to Burbank a couple of years ago, and now they're back in AT&T, which is more East Coast and everything. So there's this disconnect that seems to be kind of coming up again, and so it's kind of just a lot of different moving pieces. I think a lot of people are just kind of unsure where everything's going to settle. So now's the time. It's like throw it against the wall and see if it sticks, and moving forward, let's just try some crazy stuff for a year or two until someone tells us to stop, really. So you've got corporate mandates coming in, and you've got new people coming in, and you've got old people coming back, and you've got certain things that have always been there. Mad Magazine going away. They're going into reprints and all that kind of stuff. So there's just a lot of weird uncertainty that's probably playing with a lot of them right now. Gotcha.
No, it's just that it feels weird that I only read Batman and Justice League on a regular basis from DC. And obviously I've been trying to keep up with Doomsday Clock, partially through your reviews and partially through my own attempts at reading it. So it's kind of weird and obviously through the show, kind of seeing and hearing about what these stories are, what different stories are going on at DC. It's weird that there's kind of like not conflicting stories, but like you said, like these stories that are dealing with time travel in different ways, but in some very similar ways. And
well, and part of it,
currently,
yeah, because part of it is
there's no one steering the ship. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we just found out. I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, but some of the DC Universe exclusive shows are now going to be part of HBO Max.
Right.
They've announced, which is those were supposed to be DC Universe app exclusives to get people to sign up for that subscription. Well, now it's going to be part of HBO
to get people to sign up
Max.
for that subscription.
Right. So does that mean that the DC Universe app is going away? You know, is that whole subscription going to be disappearing and becoming part of HBO Max? You know, so it's like this thing that they just started 2 years ago, now maybe going away and merging with this other thing now that they're doing another big corporate merger. You know, so again, it screws up a lot of stuff. But on the movie side, the entertainment side, the movies always had this sense of they were always disconnected. And the movies always got to be their own thing.
Sure.
So you had the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, but they had nothing to do with the Wonder Woman TV show. They had nothing to do with the Batman movies. You had the Batman Nolan trilogy. They had nothing to do with the other Batman movies. You know, you had all this stuff going on. And so when Snyder came in, he was just going to do 5 Superman movies and tell his Superman story. And he got about 75% of Man of Steel. And then everything was just kind of taken away from him as they decided to build this,
right?
You know,
Marvel, yeah,
massive
exactly when they tried to mimic the MCU stuff. So
right. So the movies have become more trying to mash everything together and give them a shared continuity, and it feels more like the comics lately in the last 2 years or so have been more of a you do your own thing in your own book. And then as it bumps into something else and causes a problem, then we'll figure it out when we get there. But otherwise, you know, Christopher Priest can do whatever he wants with Deathstroke in his book. And you want to have Batman appear, that's great. Batman can appear and he fights him and Batman disappears. Just don't kill Batman. You can do whatever you want in the book. You know, it doesn't matter. So he has his own little universe with Deathstroke and all those characters that really doesn't affect anything else. And you've got a lot of stuff that happens in the Justice League book that doesn't affect everything else. Jarro is not appearing in Batman or Detective. You know, the stuff that's happening in Batman with City of Bane isn't affecting anything that's happening in Detective. You know what I mean? So it's like all these different books are now their own little pockets of the universe. There's no real thread pulling them all together. So they're being allowed to kind of go off. They are what the movies were a generation ago. Right. And the movies, they're trying to make what the comics were a generation ago.
Well,
so it's just,
right. I understand. And just before we move on, I just wanted to mention, though, I always thought that the thread connecting all of them was Justice League. That's what I'm getting at, is I always thought that this book, because it teams everyone up together, and because that's sort of what I could be mistaken, but I thought that that's what they were hyping this book up to be. Like, this is the book that is going to direct, you know, kind of forge ahead with the direction that the DC universe is going in, and it's going to set the, you know, it's going to whatchamacallit, to set the stage for everybody else.
Right, and it very well might. But I mean, if you look at what's happening in this Justice League, none of this is reflected in Wonder Woman or Green Lantern or Batman or Aquaman or Detective or Flash, or, you know, each of those are doing their own things that have nothing to do with the Justice League. So maybe they all will eventually catch up at some point. But
that's what I anticipate. But yeah,
right now they're just, you know, ships passing in the night. They're not
really. Yeah, I was really just kind of getting at the whole time travel thing, you know, and kind of like kind of back to back big events and you know, like Dark Knight's Metal and all that, and how all that is affected this Justice
League. Because even then we've got the new Batman Superman, or is it Superman Batman? No, it's Batman Superman this time, right. That new series, which comes off of the Batman Who Laughs, really has nothing to do with anything happening in the Superman books, and none of that stuff that seems to be big, world changing, massive, you know, all these heroes are becoming infected and corrupted and whatever. None of that has anything to do with Justice League or Doomsday Clock or any of the individual books. So yeah, it's just, who knows?
All right.
But at least it puts most people in a position where if you like one character and you want to follow that character, you only have to buy that book, because they're not doing a whole lot of crossovers, and they're not doing. You get the Flash Batman that happens, once every 2 or 3 years, but otherwise, sometimes the Superman books will kind of cross over a little bit. But for the most part, if you just want to read detective, you can just read detective. If you just want to read Flash, you can just read Flash. It really doesn't have anything to do with a lot of the other books, which is nice for a change, because you don't feel like you have to buy everything from every character to get the whole story of what's going on.
Right. Okay. All righty.
Well, since that conversation took about as long as Doomsday Clock is taking to come out, let's move on to something a little lighter. House
It'll
of
take,
X.
it'll take you that long to decode all the House of X and Powers of 10 stuff that's going on.
I was going to say we were on top of it, but at this point, it's anybody's game. But yeah, House of X number 4 is what we're going to. And you know what? You can definitely safely say that something's happening in this book.
Right. We're in the second half. We've joked about how this is basically a 12-issue series, and now we are past the midway point, and things are happening at a little bit more of a rapid pace than they have been, especially in the pages of Powers of 10. House of X is definitely where it seems the story has been moving along in present day, and we've got we follow up on the events of the last issue of House of X, where the X-Men have an away team in a mission at the Sun to take out the Mother Mold. And the X-Men don't do that great in these near space. We joked about this last week. In these near space missions, they don't fare as well as they do in some of the deeper space missions where they have like Shi'ar support. So,
and it's definitely, if you're looking for a more animated, an animated and or classic ending to this mission, it does not happen. It does not happen in this. Although we don't know what happened to one character. Actually, honestly, we don't know what happened to two characters, because I'm sitting here like, well, one. So there were some deaths in this book, and I'm sitting here like, are these deaths kind of as the first deaths of this series? Because not counting Myra's, because that's a whole nother side thing. And two, which is probably more of the question, is this, well, I think we can almost establish that this probably plays nothing into the rest of the 616. I think we can pretty much establish that at this point.
Doesn't play, I'm sorry?
It doesn't play with anything going on with the rest of the universe.
I gotcha.
Because I feel like we would, well, maybe not now, but at some point, like some of this would wash over into the rest of it. But in any case, yeah, that the mission, which you would think, given the last page of the last issue, almost seemed to be a total wipe, because that last page seemed like, well, either one or two things that happened. They all got messed up, or they got out of there in time. And
right,
in this case, neither was the case.
Right. It wasn't what I was going to say. It wasn't a mirage.
Right.
Put it that way. That we did not imagine that happening. They actually do follow up on the immediate aftermath.
Right. But like from that, though, it just seemed like, well, wait a minute. The way they took that thing out, it seemed like it was like a total loss. But at the same time, it's comics, so things don't always look like what it's almost like cartoons, where it's like before you go to commercial, this one catastrophic thing happens, and then the same thing happens, but just kind of slightly when they come back from break.
Right.
So it's kind of what it seemed like. That being the case, we see the mission go off with hitches. And the other question I have is, there is an X-Man that shows up in the future in Powers of X that seemingly meets a fate in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one who, as I alluded to earlier, we don't see what happens to that character, although I halfway suspect they would not go the classic route to what they do with this character. Maybe they will. We don't know. But everybody else, yeah, things happen. And I don't know. So what else I have in my notes? What's that? Because I think there was something else I was going to bring up. Oh yeah, that was nothing. Yeah.
I was just going to add that there is a reaction. Yeah, hold on to the thought. There's a reaction at the end of the book by a certain character to the there's a reaction to the events of this book and all of the deaths, and we end with a version of something Wanda Maximoff said.
Yes, they allude.
Back
Well, they've been alluding to that the whole thing because you can see it in the outside of the out of the
Right.
panel, even on the first page. Yeah,
Right, and this is something that fans of the X-Men books will understand the history that's being explored when Hickman talks about all of the tragedies that have befallen the mutants of the Marvel universe and how they just keep coming and coming, and the various strikes at the mutant population from Genosha to M Day to all the other events that are recounted in what is it, like a 4 or 5 page section that recounts like the history of these types of events for mutants in the Marvel universe.
right. And one other thing, especially with like that last page, because there's basically a count
Right.
on how many mutants or
How many victims?
Yeah, how many victims, mutant victims specifically that happened, and who they happened from. And one thing to note is that the Avengers is on that list, and they killed a lot of mutants somehow.
Well, no, because they have her associated with they have the the Scarlet Witch associated with her. That's how that.
No, because
I'm not mistaken, that's how it's listed.
I don't think so, because they basically go through like the right and basically other people that I think the Marauders is in that list and other body counts, because they got like the 98, the 198, and I see an M Day and a couple other things, and they just I don't think that I don't believe that is associated with that.
Oh no, it's the same. The reason why I read it that way is because it's the same number that's associated with the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
So I must have been reading into it, just because I kept seeing that number. But
right.
We'll find out more in the next issue. There's still
we don't know what else is, like, we don't even know, because it kind of read to me like, okay, well, all of this was in the aftermath of this mission going bad. That may not be the case. It could be like Agent 70 said, and this is like, hey, this is the other thing. But I kind of doubt that would. I don't feel like that is the case, but at the same time, it doesn't support my theory either, because you would still have to know what the timeline of this mission was. And I feel like there are some people involved with this mission who weren't even around during some of that stuff. I could be wrong. I don't know. But regardless, like I said, it's still up in the air, and I assume we will possibly find out well into whatever the new X books is, because they probably won't do it at the end of Powers of X, Powers of 10, House of X, if Hickman's playing true to form.
Right. We'll definitely gonna see a lot more stuff happening now that we're in the backstretch of the book, of the story. When I say the book,
Part of the story, yeah. So that someone ought to call this the prologue, I would imagine, because, like I said, if the long game is being played here, then yeah, this is just only the start of whatever the heck's going to happen in the future.
Hey, have they done anything yet to kind of explain how we went from Rosenberg's world of the X-Men to the Hicksmen group here?
It has no bearing on anything.
They basically just cleaned it up.
Yeah, Rosenberg just kind of cleaned up his thing, and then it just went straight into this, and just nothing.
Right at the end of Rosenberg's book, it was just like, oh, we're back together again, yay! And we jump right into this whole stuff. So, that's pretty much
even with like the other X books that ended around that time, like X-Force, like we got a wink and a nod to say, hey, we don't know what the future holds, but still had nothing tying anything to this. So. And I couldn't see how it would have tied into this with what's been going on. So,
Right. This is more along the lines of what you were referring to earlier, Dirt, which is, all right, you have 24 issues of X-Men to tell your story before Hickman takes over, so have fun.
Right.
Except he went and killed a whole bunch of people, so we all have to deal with that,
And also, like, this is basically seemingly like this is in his own universe. Or, the way it's being played out.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of crossover with any of the rest of the Marvel universe, so
Seemingly,
I'm telling you, it's an alternate universe because you can tell by they're using the Ultimate Universe lettering in this book.
I mean, it's quite possible, quite possible. Yeah, because like I said, there's definitely nothing tied into the Prime universe, so that's that's just as logical as anything at this point.
could be.
But yeah, from that, it was definitely an action-packed issue. The click of the week basic potential click of the week. I'm not going to say it actually was for me, but yeah, it was kind of up there for me.
Right.
And with that, I was going to say, speaking of the future, we had a nice little segue, which doesn't really justify itself in this one. You got a book you want to put out, Agent Sony?
Anybody read Immortal Hulk?
Yes, actually.
Dirt, are you still behind on this?
I'm still behind.
Oh. Well,
Hey, just wave your hands like this when you're done. I'm going to take off my headphones.
okay. Poor Dirt. So Roddy, this was a lot of fun because this is the slobber knocker. That's another wrestling term, right? But this was a great battle with a framing sequence from Jackie McGee. That was like this cool setup, and that may come back into play later on in the series.
Probably at times. They seem to be going back and forth with that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, this issue was full of back and forth between the Hulk and his friends versus General Fortean / Abomination and the Shadow Base crew.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, there was no real information given. It was just like, hey, this is the fight scene, folks, and buckle up for the ride. You see basically two teams going at it from two different ends. The Hulk is out front fighting the big battle, and then you got McGee and Betty and a floating Rick Jones, who apparently manifested some new powers. Some more gamma, and inspired powers outside of the ones he just got free of. So, yeah, doing whatever that part of that mission is going to be. But it was a great issue, that being told.
Right. We also get a little bit of a tie-in with the very beginning of the series, with one of the characters that the Immortal Hulk runs into.
That dude, yeah,
held by Shadow Base.
Mm-hmm.
And what that character may mean to Fortean's plan. So we're going to find out more about that in the next issue.
Probably more. Yeah, that's usually the way these have been set up. Is like, hey, we bring up something one issue, and then the next one will be the one that'll have a little bit more about it. So I don't see this one being any different.
Right.
Also, another potential click of the week. It was just that good.
And Bennett's art, like, I'm so impressed by how consistent he's been. Like, it's just so freaky looking. It's what is it? What do they call it? Body horror?
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's just really well done. Really well done.
Yeah. So this has been a book, like, I know the facsimile, the director's cut of the very first issue came out a couple of weeks ago.
Right, and the second one's already out too.
You should check it out.
Yeah, the second one's out too, so you can definitely jump on that, folks, and catch up on this and look at the inside track. Yeah,
if any of that is any interest to you, definitely check that out, because it's not the same Hulk book as you would think it would be.
No, not in the least. All right, I'm gonna wave in PCN_dirt now.
Watching the video, have a nice little treat there.
Exactly.
Like air traffic controllers waving
yes,
them.
Yes, we were doing
that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're absolutely exactly. We are the flight crew waving PCN_dirt.
Exactly.
That was your mistake.
So all right. So
yeah, maybe one or two more books before we go rapid.
You have a recommendation before we go rapid fire?
Fantastic Four, number 14.
Yes. Oh, such a great book this week.
Indeed it is. Dirt, are you reading this or no?
No, I haven't been reading it since I relaunched it.
Gotcha.
Well, this one is a new arc.
And it's a great place to jump on.
And goes back to the very beginning of the Fantastic Four's existence. which kind of brings up a question for me. So the basically start this out is like there's a new museum exhibit that's been brought out, and it is the Fantastic Four's first rocket ship that has been put on display, which brings up a whole bunch of memories for the crew, including a little bit of retconning for Johnny,
right,
and some little bit of trauma for Ben, and a lot of longing looks for Reed, which is slightly unnerving because he was looking at that ship like, oh yeah, but you knew where it was going to go after that because the rest of the book is kind of like, well, okay,
right. Well, this is a big retcon in that there is, it's a minor retcon in the biggest sense, in a real way, because it only changes what the point of their stealing a rocket was and what kind of rocket it was and what they were looking to achieve. And I thought that was a great minor tweak to update the FF origin story. Q Marvel Studios having the Fantastic Four back,
but it also retcons a little bit of Johnny's history also, because from what we knew of him originally, the things he goes through that he supposedly had gone through in the past in this issue that we see did not ever happen. Right. We also didn't know that, and also that rocket ship did not have that name or a name
correct
before this issue, so that's a whole nother thing.
Right,
but yeah, we definitely get a lot more on Johnny's I guess at this point a lesser known instance of Johnny's history.
Right. What if I recall correctly, and I curse myself for not having gone back to check this, but if I'm not mistaken, Johnny was basically a tag along.
Yes.
For the whole
Sue for that matter, but they changed it in this issue.
Right. And like I said, Q again, Marvel Studios having the FF back.
Yeah.
Talk about a way to really to modernize the FF origin and make it film ready. So I thought that was a really interesting thing for them to do.
Yeah, I do like how so basically everybody, so something happens in because of this trip to the museum, and the kids being kids and not having any historic affinity, let's say,
right?
Reed hatches a plan to do something that, again, like I said, given what I said earlier about him looking longingly at this rocket and knowing Reed, what's going to happen during the rest of this. And you could almost go training montage with him and then him and Johnny with what happens the next third of the book, to where at the end they announce that, hey, guess what? We got this, here's this project we got, and we're gonna go back to the beginning. We're gonna finish what we didn't finish before. And to which the surprise here was Ben's reaction to it. Well, it wasn't a surprise, but it was also a surprise because he kind of spent part of the book was like, yeah, we're this exhibit is about all these, is a part of all these great other missions that people do, land on the moon and all this other stuff, and I'm the one that gets to go down in history as crashing, the first faster than light rocket ship or something. So you would think he would be thrilled to go back on this mission again, but
that's the beauty of the character. Yeah, that's the beauty of the character. He's got that pathos based on everything that happened up to this point. Everything up to him getting his powers and even after. So it's a great, it's a pretty great way to explore it from another point of view.
Yeah, but spoiler, he's ends up on board with it anyway.
Right. So this is a potential click of the week for me because I definitely enjoy the energy that was in this. It felt like a number one issue.
Mm.
It definitely is a great way for people who are curious about the FF, even fans, to kind of get reinvigorated and just jump in and see the FF, Sans fan. I hate to say this, Sans family, because that's really what has been the focus for the last several issues with Ben and Alicia getting married, and
Sans the rest of the family, because the core four is there, but yeah,
right, exactly. When I say the extended family, let's put it that way, like Sans the extended family. So
yeah,
the Future Foundation is off in one corner of the universe. Val and Franklin are on
any of that
exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of cool that it's the core FF.
Mm-hmm.
So since they went back to the origin, of the Fantastic Four, and Marvel has that rubber band timeline where they snap the past up in order to make things more current. Do they give any sort of hint, like what time period now that this originally happened?
Well, no, they don't. They do not. Because you can see like them. They have like little flashback panels of certain events that happened back then, but they don't really give it a time frame.
No, they actually adapt the Kirby art to but they obviously leave out some of the more dated references. So,
Yeah,
well, like I wondered if you were going to throw in like somebody in a Knight Rider T-shirt to say it was the '80s. Or
no, they do.
Right Said Fred or something.
No, none of that. The only thing that will even come close is basically Reed saying, "Yeah, hey, this was a time where, I can't remember what his exact wording was, but basically, this was a time where such things didn't happen, or that certain things was less possible than they are now."
Right. I think the only cue is probably something that PCN_Dirt was just referencing. There is in the art and the clothing style for the FF and their initial crew for the launch.
Sure.
That's the only thing that seems a little dated, but you can't put a date on it.
Right.
So that's really the only thing that would place this in some point in history, but not an exact point.
Exactly. So that being said, though, so they are pushing off on this new mission to finish the original mission, and we'll see where that goes from there, including a nice little throwback to a less, well, I wouldn't say a lesser known, a dear to my heart but lesser cared about character of the FS history. Kind of gets referenced in here, which and a nice little point, and I thought that was kind of nice.
Where's that?
Herbie.
Oh! When I saw that, I was like, no, not Herbie.
Oh, whatever.
I know that they have incorporated Herbie into the regular content.
Yeah, like Herbie has shown up in the last probably a good 5 or 10 years. As
he's all over the Franklin Richards books.
Right.
Yeah, there's that, and he was also in Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur when the FS was guest starring there. So yeah, it's been around, but I always like any good Herbie reference is all right in my book.
All right.
That being said, let's see, maybe one more, or
if you want to throw out one more, that's fine. We can also go rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Let's go ahead and hit it.
Hit it up.
We will start off, and I'll go ahead and clean mine up. And since we go from one part of the FF to the other, Future Foundation number 2. Did you read this, Agent 70, or no?
Not.
Okay. Well, so they're still on the Future Foundation, still on their mission to find. They're basically trying to find all of the pieces of the Molecule Man that got spread when Franklin was making all of the universes. But we found out there's a new wrinkle to this that stems from Secret Wars, the Hickman Secret Wars at that. And you get get that little bit of backstory in the beginning of this, to where we get to the current mission, where the Future Foundation has basically found the Maker on this prison planet, and the Maker, thinking himself smart and has his own crew, has his own little ruse that gets found out fairly near the end of the book. And we also see them trying to make the power pack, or at least the part of the power pack that is in this book, cool again, which I would say that may have never been cool, but hey, they're grown now. But it was nice. It was cool. And then what we also find out that they found this other person who is a deep cut to Heroes Reborn. Yes. And who may also have some sort of tie into this mission more than initially stated. So I will leave you to find out about that.
Okay.
Whenever. Champions number 9.
Do that. All right.
Champions number 9. Well, I know you read this one.
Yeah, I did.
So we got some mental manipulation going on, Mephisto adjacent, because we know he's popped up in this book as well as many others. Which they haven't really been saying anything about a big wide event with Mephisto, but it sure seemed like it with the number of times he's popped up in the last couple of years. But in this case, we got his son Blackheart, who's apparently doing some manipulating of the Champions crew, and looks like the gang's fairly much back together again because of this, within reason. So we got Miles and Miss Marvel's back. Apparently, there's a Forbush Man movie, which hey, I want to see. So,
I would watch that.
I know, right? So, because there was a reference to a Forbush Man movie that Kamala and Bruno kind of talk about. But outside of that, the rest of the issue is pretty much like, hey, Blackheart's doing some manipulating of the team, and some part of the team is going to end up fighting the other part of the team who is not possessed, is what it's looking like so far.
Mm-hmm.
And they all do this in front of Vision's house, which begs me the question, where the hell is he? Which I know whatever doesn't means nothing. So that is that. Agents of Atlas number 2 is the next book, and I know you read that.
Yes.
Apparently Giant Man's on the team now, and they're still dealing with this. I'm not sure what to make of this dude. Like, he's not really Zuckerberg-esque. He's kind of more, he's basically one of those startup type CEOs.
It's definitely Greg Pak is definitely drawn from several different references for this new in character who is looking to link up the various centers of commerce of Asian countries and Asian communities to and to try to profit off of it.
Yeah, and with that, there's a whole other wrinkle going on with that has some real life implications attached to it also with this thing he's doing. But also there are wyverns, because I'm not going to say dragons before somebody makes that correction like what's happening in the book. But the only thing that happens in this book is that Amadeus is very skeptical of this thing, but he's also kind of blinded by the fact that he's got this thing for one of the other characters who he ends up having a connection with at the end of this issue.
Right. And this character that Roddykat is referencing made me think of this. Shout out to the 80s.
Your notes, and damn if you weren't going to pull that up.
So
going to do it, isn't he? Yep, he sure is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not of a certain vintage, that was Falco's Rock the Amadeus.
Right. American version. So
yes, look up the video. It's a weirdness. That being said, I think that was pretty much it for that one. Web of Black Widow number 1. I made a joke in my notes about them. They're taking this whole Scar joke and be anything joke a little too far, because we thought we saw somebody. Well, Natasha on the mission, apparently she's using some other trickery, and I'm like, it's kind of weird because, okay, it seems like she's in 2 places at once, and we find out how that is the case. But at the same time, we also get a little brush of her history with Tony Stark in a way on this said mission. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We don't know her whole game going forward with this book, but she's pretty much starting out another mission like she has been in the last couple of volumes, I guess.
Right. I mean, I kind of like the reference to the Widow's old school Marvel origin.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nice. It was just a panel, but it was great to see.
It was
and just to echo your sentiment. This is basically the Black Widow dealing with red in her ledger. So this is definitely a trip down memory lane for her, and dealing with another mission that she's maybe able to deal with the fallout that came with her doing some Red Room stuff, way back when, and now she's like, I can actually fix this. So,
well, not only that, and there's also the fact that she's died and been resurrection, and she even brings up to Tony the same thing that he's been wrestling with in his current books about, well, if the original has if you basically fix a car, keep fixing the car, is it the same car situation? Because both her and Tony Stark's are kind of grappling with, are they actually the real them or clones of themselves?
Right.
Because she actually was a clone. She has what actually her resurrection actually was surrounded about her being cloned, and Tony's doing, having a situation with what his thing is going on. So that'll be thing going as far as, and so it's like I think they did set this book up to be kind of a history of kind of a walk down memory lane anyway, from what I remember from articles a way back, which they're still doing that Black Widow movie, so that's probably kind of timely, I guess.
Sure.
Maybe a little early, but timely enough. Transformers Ghostbusters #4. This was fun. So hey, Dirk, you know that that Prime Ghostbusters figure that we were kind of liking,
the super expensive one?
Yeah. Well, guess what? That figure shows up in this book. So, and with well, an in-universe reason as to how and why that is happening, basically. So yeah, and I still want that figure and the Ectotron figure. Excuse me, whatever. But
what about the $600 Unicron?
that is, we got news on that too, because that's still ongoing. Apparently. So,
yeah, they extended the deadline, but yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll talk.
I'm surprised they didn't get enough. Holy cow!
Well, I'm not sure if they didn't, but well, they probably didn't. That's why they're extended it. Right. But yeah, but also New York's coming up, by the way. So even regardless of whether they're making it or doing something else, I'm pretty sure that's probably a reasoning.
Gotcha.
So, but anyway, so yeah, basically they take care of Starscream, and then if you know Transformers lore, especially more importantly the animated version, season 3 had well, that wasn't season 3. Well, yes, it was season 3. Starscream's Ghost, that was still a factor in this book. Kremzeek, if you know that pull, good lord, is a factor of this book, but that gets taken care of in this. And then, of course, at the end of this, there's a fight, a long-running fight that pretty much gets continued in this one. And Prime says the Ghostbusters thing, if you know a key line of Ray Parker Jr.'s song. So that is that. And my last book,
he said Bustin' makes me feel good.
He stopped short but from saying that, but no, it's the other line.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that hadn't happened before now. But sadly, they showed restraint in the series so far with saying that. Although they did, though, I think issue 2 they almost alluded to it. Anyway, Deceased: A Good Day to Die #1. So this is speaking of side stories, I guess. This is a side story to what's going on. The deceased, little else, I guess we're calling it an Elseworlds thing, because it's not really in universe anyway, where not zombies are taking over the Earth thanks to the anti-life equation in Cyborg, but this is like a side thing to where, hey, there's some more villains. I know PC Unscrewed read this, so you might have something else more to say about this. The other thing I can say about this is this other team's trying to figure out what's going on and try to do something about it, and that goes particularly a kind of a way where I dare say, mirroring the main book, the smartest person on the side kind of gets taken out at some point, but not early as it did in that book. What's that?
Well, no, go ahead.
I was about to say, and the only other thing I got to say was like, there's no way in hell Barter would have getting taken out like that. There's no way in hell. But yeah, I think this is like you said earlier, Dirk. This is like a 2-shot or something, or it's like it's like one book.
I know. At the end it says to be continued with the question mark. So I assume, but it very well could be that in the next issue of Deceased, we'll see a character or characters from this appear over there. Maybe
come back around to it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know Taylor said there's a couple of there's also another book, another 1-shot that's coming out at some point.
Right. But, so basically what it seems like is happening is in the main Deceased, you have the characters who realize the anti-life equation has been unleashed on the world.
Right. Just found that.
So they're trying to be superheroes, figure this out, deduce what happened, how do you reverse it or escape it or whatever.
Right.
This book seems to go, hey, you know what? There's also a ton of magic people in the DC universe. How do they deal with it? So
not only time travel.
Yeah, so we do have a character who is a big part of the magic end of the DC universe. And so they try to track this person down, get them involved, try to figure out if they can reverse it. So we have another group of heroes trying a different path to get rid of these non-zombies.
Right.
And it ends with a couple other characters who are magical in the DC universe coming and grabbing this guy and saying, okay, look, let's figure this out. Let's go take care of this. And so on the one hand, it was nice to see some other pockets of the DC universe besides the big characters who normally appear in all these big events and crossovers and everything. But on the other hand, it's again, like I keep reading this going, why wasn't this a Halloween event book? Like, why is this a summertime event miniseries? Why was this not a weekly, 4-week, 5-week event leading up to Halloween with your final issue coming out right around Halloween? That would have been perfect for a book like this, but for whatever reason, they've turned it into the summertime.
Or at the very least, closer to Halloween, because I think by the time the season finishes, it'll probably might be like, if not the beginning of October or some, like maybe the middle. I can't remember.
Yeah, but it's just kind of weird that it started in June, and June, July. You're just like, this is not like what, like why?
Yeah, we said that. It was like, what, that would have made totally much sense. But I guess they didn't want to be that on the nose with it, or maybe they didn't think about it. It doesn't really make that much sense, because you're right. It would have been a little more perfect to do it around closer to Halloween than this.
Maybe that's your Doomsday Clock 12 is coming, and they just want to keep the schedule open. They don't want to have it too crowded.
There's nothing in this book that would have anything to do with Doomsday Clock, or maybe, well, you know what? Maybe who knows nowadays, so. But yeah, but that's that. Like I said, it's pretty much a side story to the main DC event that is going on. I'm still enjoying it, and this was still a pretty good fun read.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but the storytelling was a little weird in this one. There were a lot of times where you'd see a shot of a building, and it's just a building sitting there in the middle. There's a parking lot. There's some trees. It's just sitting there. And then you cut on the inside and you see Booster Gold, and he's like, they're right outside. They're banging on the doors. They're almost through. And you're just like, who? Because we just saw a shot of the building. There's nobody there. Like, who are you talking about?
And same thing happened when Bart and Mr. Miracle came into the thing, which they brought back up the cheese plate. I mean, the veggie plate.
Veggie tray.
So it was like, okay, that was a nice touch. But
it's a fun book, but it's definitely like, this is the, if Deceased is, your giant theatrical release horror film, this is the Sci-Fi Channel tie-in to your big screen adventure.
I mean, I can't really argue that.
It's not quite a zombie tidal wave bad, but
yes, definitely like Sharknado-ish or Megalodon-ish or whatever the other one they're doing now is. But it's still fun regardless, and it still has a lot
more humor to it.
Yeah,
a lot more humor to it, and a lot less gravity to it, because the main series really is like I just watch the people I love die and get torn apart and whatever, and this is a lot more of like, if we go down, we're going down fighting, and I'll take every one of these bastards with me type of thing going on.
I'm probably the last one to make this reference, but it seems, and I've not watched either one of these, but it seems like this is Fear the Walking Dead to Deceased The Walking Dead.
Oh.
Also, except for the fact, but it doesn't play because Fear the Walking Dead is like a prequel and other situations.
Well, no, but they've changed all that anyway. So.
Oh, did they? Okay. So,
I was about to say they made it so that it caught up to the show. So.
Well, it was in the beginning, right? But regardless, it's still
they crossed over a couple characters and stuff,
right? So yeah, it's still a little loose in that tie, regardless, but it's still fun. And I know Tom Taylor was like, he had to write a lot of stuff that he felt like he wanted to do, but one book wasn't going to clear. That's why this book is going on. At least that was a reason, and whatever that other book is going to be, which is playing off of the main book because of a certain character's death, but that hasn't shown up yet. So that is what it is, and that is all of my books for the week.
Alrighty, I've only got a few. Since we since Roddykat and I read a few books in common, so we covered some of those. I would speak about Ghost Spider Annual #1. There's nothing really special about defeating an arcade-designed mini murder world designed for Peter Parker. That's essentially the point of this Acts of Evil crossover. But the story really has some human notes, and it's really well written, and that's something I give the writer a lot of credit for. So it became a pretty good read, even though it hit a lot of very familiar notes. The next book I wanted to talk about is Savage Avengers #5. So the first battle versus the wizard Kulan Gath ends, but apparently the war against Kulan Gath continues. I'm off this book for now. I'm done. It's
I'm surprised you were still on this book as long as you were.
Yeah, it's I know that Diodado's leaving the book after this issue, and having read this issue, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to stay on. And by the way, I didn't put this down because I read it very quickly, but Punisher #15 this week contains the Endgame reference of "I don't even know who you are" bit. It's in this week's Punisher #15. So,
Sorry, is that official? You're marking it down as when you read?
Yeah, you can put that down. You can add that to the list. I'll type it in too. But yeah, I read through it. It's just it's the latest chapter in the Punisher versus Zemo, but on the streets of Manhattan. But this is with the Punisher's ragtag team of super types that would be supporting him, like his few friends in the world, or not even friends, but would be allies. Right?
Sure.
Exactly.
Oh, and I forgot to mention the MCU tie-in in Fantastic Four. But you know what? You can read it for yourself because it's good. That being the case, unless you have anything, Dirt, you didn't nothing.
No,
Okay.
I only read a handful of books.
All right.
I mean, I read a bunch of books, but only a handful that were this week's books.
You got it.
Fair, been there. All right, clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week.
I will give anyone else outside of this panel 5 seconds to guess Tim's book of the week.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And you would be correct. It is House of X #4. To be fair, it was a good book. So I mean, we said that we made our cases earlier. So it's not just a joke, Tim, on his pick, but and it wasn't even a joke on his pick. But hey, we know he likes his X factor. No pun intended. Anybody else?
I'm actually going to go with Fantastic Four #14. 14.
That's
14.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun reading this. It had a great energy to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment.
Well, I want to say Doomsday Clock, but it's just not going to work out on this one because there's just still too many questions about what the heck is going on. But I really did enjoy, even though it didn't quite live up, I don't think it lived up to the cover. I think Justice League 31 was a lot of fun dealing with the different timelines, the different alternate timelines, the Brainiac's machination, the Lex Luthor Brainiac machinations for everything. And it even, you get another version of the Justice League that they run across that was fun to see because it looks like they had a Nova in their group or something.
Oh
yeah. So yeah, I did enjoy that book, even though didn't quite live up to the promise made on the cover.
Gotcha. And I guess for me, I probably would go with Agent 70's pick of Fantastic Four because it was just that good, I think. But I'm going to actually turn left and say Transformers Ghostbusters #4 because it was fun and I still want those figures and I know I'm never going to get them, but this book was actually for the run. It's not finished yet, I should point out, because I think there's at least 1 or 2 more issues. But yeah, this was a fun issue. Thank you. And we're going to transition into the next ad read. But first,
We
will say
did
goodbye.
Ian underscore dirt.
Bye, guys.
Yes.
And I'm doing the thing now where I'm trying to there's Roddy, Agent 70.
Like, yeah, well, hold on. Yeah, I see you down there too.
See,
Yeah.
I've kind of picked my
Brady
Brady Bunch. Yeah, this is exactly.
Right. Hey, you know what? If we had 3 more people, I could have totally made that scene.
Oh
But,
my god!
How many people can we get in one stream? That's the question.
you know, I don't know. We'll probably never find that out. But I'm not sure.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, thanks for having me. I'll see you later.
Later.
Take it easy.
Alrighty. Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for collectibles such as their world famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise, custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. And we roll into the news.
Indeed. Don't forget that Gears Pop's Funko game is out there, and Gears 5 is out probably as we speak at the time of this recording, which is Thursday night, 9 p.m. If you're a video game fan, which is slightly outside of the purview of this program. But there have been Gears of Wars comics, so there. Anyway, cinematic news as we start off with, as we tend to do, with Ant-Man and the Wasp star teases Ghost's MCU return. So yay for the Ghost. Hannah John Kamen hinted that she could return as the wall-phasing anti-hero. And she quotes, in the MCU, you have to sign your contract with blood and they stitch your mouth together, she said. All I can say is that Ghost didn't die. So that could mean she could potentially return. And I hope she does. Which actually is kind of funny because she is in 2 big Disney properties. Well, she has been anyway, because she's been in the MCU and she had a bit part in Force Awakens. Those who know Miss Hannah John Kamen from Killjoys, which is awesome. You should go check that show out on Sci-Fi, which is in its last season. It's a great show. Anyway, next up.
All right. In our next bit of news, there's an article out there that describes who actually has the most screen time in Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So
It should not really surprise you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it kind of should, but it kind of does and shouldn't.
Right, because at the end of the day, we know that this was Iron Man's swan song as the lead character in the Infinity Saga, so it's not a surprise that Robert Downey Jr. and
he's up there.
Exactly.
But he's actually not the one who's had the most screen time.
Oh, it's not. Who is?
No, according to this chart, it is Gamora and then Thanos.
Wow, shocker!
And then Tony Stark.
Shocker.
So, yeah. So now imagine if they had a chart for like the MCU up until now, Tony Stark would probably have that one.
Gotcha.
But yeah, but this one, like I said, this was just Infinity War and Endgame screen time. So it's the combination of both of them. So there you go. I'm not sure why this article was the case, but apparently it's a thing. Next up, Doctor Strange era in Avengers Endgame breaks continuity. So apparently this has something, again, what is going on with this article? I don't know. But apparently, anyway, going back to that last battle, somebody picked up the fact that Doctor Strange is holding an item of jewelry that he would normally have under normal circumstances that got dealt with in the previous movie. You know, and if you're a classic Doctor Strange fan, you know what article of it's not necessarily jewelry, but you know what that article is. He is apparently seen holding or it's on his possession. But that's it is not really saying much because just because he has the thing doesn't mean that it itself didn't have any magical properties outside of what was in it,
right?
Or potentially couldn't. So you could kind of go both ways with that one. Like maybe he's still just holding on to it because hey, he's like, oh, this is my treasure keepsake, or it actually had other magical properties to it outside of the thing it was holding.
Right.
And this article is bugging out, so I know yeah. Anyway,
it's okay. Next up,
shoot.
We have an article that has that says that the Endgame Smart Hulk may make a future imperfect movie possible.
Yeah, apparently Peter David was asked during DragonCon this past weekend, which by the way, DragonCon was this past weekend and I'm not there. I wasn't there and I'm mad. I'm not mad, but bummed. Anyway, so yeah, Peter David was, I guess, asked about either the movie or something. I can't remember what it was, but he basically said that, well, now I'm hoping they wind up doing a Future Imperfect, which I think would be freaking awesome. I think Future Imperfect would make a fantastic Hulk movie in the MCU, if that wasn't already implied. So he also notes that, hey, there would have to be some changes to the source material because obviously there are some things that are not in place from the comic to the MCU. Such as not having Rick Jones, in the MCU, et cetera, et cetera. So he kind of goes into that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever read Future Imperfect. But basically, if you did not know, that is the if I'm not mistaken, the intro to the Maestro, a Future Hulk.
Correct.
So I can see where that could be the case because how Endgame's Hulk is. Although I know MCU fans would be like, I can't see it because he was so fun line getting this and another. Hey, look.
Right, but something really bad happens to the world that causes the Maestro to take center stage. So that has to happen in order for the Hulk to turn into that. So we'll see.
And who's to say what could happen in Phase 4?
Right. We'll see.
Yeah. So. Anyway, next up.
Alrighty. No, you're up.
So yeah, we alluded to this ourselves, which kind of goes to my assertion that we have fans over in TBR and not just the one we know that works for them. That is my joke in this whole thing. But Eternals could bring one of the Avengers' most scandalous romances to the MCU. Like I said, we kind of talked about this last week. So really, that being the love affair / triangle of Cersei, Black Knight, and Crystal of the Inhumans, who all shared an Avengers team at the time of their romance. It was a pretty good run, I dare say. Not because of that, but just in general. And they're saying this article is asserting, which came out the day after we recorded, I'm just saying, that could possibly happen in the MCU. If they so decide. I got a feeling we're probably going to at least get part of it. Because, like, obviously, as I said last week, the Avengers tie is not there, but their romance could happen.
Right. And there's no point in putting the Black Knight into this movie without it. So
right, yeah, which if you didn't think about it, like if you were like me and then was initially like, why in the world are they putting the Black Knight in this movie particularly? And then you think about it, all right, there you go. So yeah, there's that. Stay tuned for more on that. Next.
Alrighty. In home movie news, Spider-Man Far From Home digital and Blu-ray release dates have been confirmed with special features. So digitally, the movie is going to hit on September 17th and on physical media on October 1st. So it's roughly 2 weeks apart.
Like normal. And I need to catch up on my because I still haven't gotten those last couple of movies.
There you go.
So I mean, I watched it, but whatever. So on another side of this token, Kristen Stewart told she could land Marvel role if she hid her sexuality. So Kristen Stewart did some of y'all know her. She was in that one Twinkly Vampire movie. And she's also starring in Charlie's Angels now. Some would say she's a questionably good actor or not, but we're not going to talk about that right now. She did an interview with Harper's Bazaar, and this came up during the course of the article, saying that she says basically that what basically I just said. I'm putting this in here because the one thing that has not been stated in this article or the original source article was that no one from, it seems as though no one from Marvel said that she could not, or
Right.
Disney.
What I was going to say, was it the casting director?
No, this is it. There was nothing said about who said anything. She just said somebody told her that she could not. It could have been her manager for all we know.
Right.
I mean, so she didn't necessarily say one thing or another. But I also know that a headline like this and her saying that could just automatically have people thinking, well, blah 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 blah, this and that, and go all rah rah. Like, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that there's a problem in Hollywood. That there's not a problem in Hollywood where sexuality is concerned, and casting choices and this and that and the other, because that is definitely a thing. But the fact that she said this, and we don't know if there's anyone related to Marvel or Disney said anything about that not happening. Those two are not together,
right?
So we should definitely put it back out there. And I don't know if anybody really cares about it that much. I think we probably gave more time than I've seen on the internet about it. To be brutally honest.
Gotcha.
I've seen one throwaway cross from Dirt, but I'm gonna. I think I may have kind of said what he kind of said, sort of.
I will join, but I don't Carnage.
What in the world?
I started opening the next clip.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, that happened. So yeah, next up.
The next story involves DuckTales that involves Glomtail. So it's a upcoming episode that premieres on September 10th, and I literally just started playing it by accident.
Well, yeah, it's an auto playing thing, so you couldn't help it. But yeah, so Glomtails is basically the name of the episode, and if that title means anything to you, yes. Flintheart Glumgold hatches a plan to go to basically, you might as well say it's his Legion of Doom that he forms to go up against Scrooge to get all his, because Flintheart and Scrooge McDuck are rivals.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is basically his plot to get rid of Scrooge and his family, as it says here, once and for all. And he puts together, which I guess that means, well, I guess that's also why you see characters from other Disney properties, such as Don Carnage, as you see in the clip, and other folks, like obviously the obvious ones like Magic of the Spell is in the picture, and a few other people, are in this are in this coalition. So hey, if you're watching DuckTales, you'll see what that's all about. But I guess we start to see the combination of what that was all about, more than just nice nostalgia. So, and I will say we'll get to that, because in the clickbait section, there's also another DuckTales clip that from behind the scenes, I guess you could say, of the cast doing an Avengers Endgame scene in their voices, which is kind of cool. So you can check it out if you care to. Next up, Mark Hamill compares the taste of Galaxy Edge's blue milk to the original. So, Mark Hamill, who would know what blue milk, or at least,
what the OG blue milk.
Yes, what the OG version of blue milk would taste like, in relation to what they're going to be serving at the Galaxy Edge's theme park. So yeah, he tries them out and gives his opinion on that. And he also, so according to this Twitter post, he says, "Note to self: remember you're on camera and Disney signs your paychecks." And then he goes into his thoughts on on the mixture, which is kind of always kind of funny. You should check that out.
All right. In more Star Wars Mark Hamill news, he shared how the original lightsabers were made. So this is I guess via social media. He shared that the original lightsaber was made using a handle from a 1940s Graflex press camera and some stuff stuck to the bottom, and an illuminator strip taken from a calculator, and it cost back then £12 to make.
Yeah, which not probably even now is probably not that well. I mean, it's probably obviously it's a different rate than back then, but it's probably
Right.
still not that much. So yeah, which I feel like I don't know if we've seen. I feel like we've probably seen this in a behind the scenes before or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is always a fun thing to see. So yeah, and of course, a lot of people commented on that post as people tend to do. But it's a nice little geeky fact. I like it. I always love it. The Mandalorian fights a pair of Trandoshans in cool new photo, which
I did finally see the trailer, by the way.
Oh, good. What'd you think?
It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like it still doesn't really say a whole lot, but at the same time, it kind of gives you a good sense of the world somewhat. So, but yeah, so if you were looking at the video, you can see the photo from Entertainment Weekly, which looks more like them posing action figures as opposed to a live action shot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, it is a live action shot, but it just looks like, hey, we're gonna get some figures and just pose them together, and that's gonna be this shot.
Yeah, just based on how static it looks. So
right. So, but I guess could be a testament of how good it looks.
Okay.
But or not, I don't know. That could probably go both ways. But either way, hey, it's a nice shot, and that's it's a thing. Next up, speaking of the Mandalorian,
right? So
the Mulan DeLorean. I'm just kidding.
Oh gosh! So in more news about the Mandalorian, because the show takes place in the 30-year space between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, it's going to explore the origins of the First Order that has not quite taken over, but is definitely doing a lot of bad things in the latest Star Wars trilogy.
Right, which some would argue some probably much needed backstory on, because it seemed like they just kind of came out of nowhere. Well, not necessarily out of nowhere, because hey, the Empire rises and falls. Someone's going to try to take its place one way, shape, or form, and that's kind of thing that always happens. As we've learned anything from Star Wars history,
right? And we're probably just going to learn more about it in the next movie.
Probably.
Well,
but I think
given who they've teased.
Yes, probably. Or at the very least, we'll probably get like the end of it, maybe not the beginnings of it. And they're probably using this show to kind of to stoke the beginnings of it, and then and then that'll just kind of bring it back in. And then of course there's the books, because there's that stuff is canon
too. Yeah.
So basically, Dave Filoni says that this doesn't turn into a good guy universe because you blew up two Death Stars. He says you get that the rebels won and they're trying to establish a republic, but there's no way that that could have set in for everybody all at once. So you have a Western where you're out in the frontier, and there might be Washington, and there might have had some marshals, but sometimes good luck finding one. So that kind of gives you the state of where the Mandalorians takes place, which, as you have seen for yourselves, kind of a Wild West thing going on. So and like I said, he talks a little bit more about possibly the what could bring in the First Order. Next up, next Flash director confirmed. It's Andy Muschietti.
Okay.
So apparently that Flash movie is still kind of up in the air, and the last director, as I think we have said before, has left the project, and now we have another one. Ezra Miller is still attached, we still think, and I guess they're still trying to do it.
Right. We'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. All
right.
Does anyone even care at this point?
Speaking of the Flash,
outside of Ezra Miller, Anyway, next.
Right. Speaking of the Flashpoint on the TV side, Grant Gustin has confirmed that a major Crisis character for season 6 is going to show up in the premiere, and that character is, spoiler alert,
Barry Allen. No, I'm just kidding.
No. It's the Merrimack. Civil War historians will understand what I'm talking about. No, it's the Monitor. Oh no.
Well, I mean, wait. I thought we already established that, though.
I don't know, but the thing is, anytime I see the Monitor, I think, oh, where's the Merrimack? But But anyway,
You history buffs are chuckling on the floor, just rolling, laughing about that.
oh,
But well, no, because I think because the dude they hired is playing the Anti-Monitor, I think. So so this is the Monitor, which makes sense because hey, where the Anti-Monitor is, the Monitor is probably going to be somewhere around.
sure.
So yeah, there we go. Another crisis not necessarily averted yet. Boom, boom. Anyway, next up, speaking of the Flash, Iris's new hairstyle has an in-story explanation. So there was rumbling about this on social media, and I didn't pull that story last week when it happened. So I think Candace Patton, the very lovely Candace Patton, went to social media. Basically, the long story short, is asking to see if she could have her natural curls on the show, and I think the producers obviously said yes because it's showing up, and it's not only shown up, but there's an in-story reason as to why she had to, because all before now her hair has been straight, so there's an in-story reason as to why she has gone with the curls.
All right.
So, good on them, and it only took 6 years. Anywho, so that's cool. Next up,
in his new single entitled "Rainbow Dragon," actor, singer, songwriter Kanan Lonsdale, and I want to say
who
directly references his departure from the CW's DC television series The Flash. He played Kid Flash.
Correct. So before this article came out, I saw a clip of that video, and you should check it out because it's quite something.
Okay.
And I say that to everybody in the audience because it's interesting. But yeah, apparently, and I didn't get to the part where he actually said the line that he quotes in this article, or the line that is quoted in the article. So basically, around the track's 2-minute mark, Lonsdale raps about all the choices that he is free to make on his own volition, declaring, "I could quit the Flash if I wanted to." So, and he's not a regular on the show at this point anyway. So it is what it is. But yeah, go check that out if you're so inclined. He weirds me out because he looks like my nephew. It's not a good or bad thing. Just it is.
Gotcha.
Anywho, Arrow's David Ramsey on why the Arrowverse remains without a Green Lantern, because they're cowards and they don't want to give Diggle his ring. That's freaking why. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, apparently, and it's been alluded to like 2-3 different times, including apparently in the last crossover Elseworlds, where I guess he was asked, because I still haven't seen that yet either, where the character of Diggle was asked, where's his ring? So, which is also a nod to there being a Green Lantern in existence in the Arrowverse also. But he was being interviewed and was asked as to why they haven't done it yet, and he gives his reason, which I don't believe. Because he basically says here, I cannot tell you how many times that he's been asked. This is what they're saying about it. But really, I don't have to knock on Mark Stowe. He's been incredibly forthright with letting me know the plan and letting me know some of the politics behind it. Green Lantern is a tremendously large property and is not easily done. Right. If it's done on TV, imagine the cost. So it's one of those things where it's going to take a great deal of preparation if and when it's ever done. I don't believe that. I love David Ramsey. He seems like he'd be a cool guy. I don't believe that reasoning.
Okay.
Well, one, we got Black Knight, and I mean, granted, it's a far cry because we're dealing with more effects being needed than say Black Lightning would entail. That's what I'm saying. But
yeah, let's say electrical effects are actually, I think, one of the easier things for them.
That's what I'm saying, and which I'm not using that as an excuse for it, but I feel like between the effects that have already shown up on the Flash and Supergirl, and I guess in some small part the Arrow also, but probably even Legends, I would say, because I'm like a little behind on that. But regardless, I don't know. Yes, effects take a lot and whatever, and like I just think that it just goes back to they were still trying to keep some specific characters separate from TV than movie. But I think that kind of got knocked out with Batwoman coming also, because they said they would never have anybody from the Bat family coming to like that.
I gotcha.
I don't know. But regardless, hey, that's what he said. That's what he believes. I'm not, I can't knock that either. But I just don't believe it.
Alrighty, next up.
Yes.
In a new photo from Arrow's final season, shows us the best look yet at Black Canary's new costume and Spartan's new costume.
Wait, why is Spartan white? That's not right. Did I
Oh,
miss something?
don't look at me.
So Spartan is John Diggle's character's code name, or was. I don't know if again, I'm a couple of seasons behind, so I don't know. They may have changed something by now, because that does not look like Diggle. But either way, if you're watching the video, you can see the pictures of it. There's a little more classic Canary look, kind of. So, well, I mean, at least TV version of Canary, because it's not, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Poof. Next, okay, so I'm a little behind. I still hadn't watched this, so I'm just going to preface that right now. But I kind of figured something was going to happen with this. Young Justice's end credits shocks fans with the most savage Lovo ever. I don't quite know what that means, but I figured since they kept showing his lopped off finger during those end credit scenes up until the last one that I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
that clearly was going to mean something. And I assume, because I know we talked about this before, there were some people thinking there was some meaning behind those end credit shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel free to not say if that's actually true or not, or well, you can say if that's actually true. If all that's got tied together outside of this Lobo one.
You got me.
Wait, I thought you caught up. I thought you finished.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of it all tying together with Lobo, I thought that was just a teaser.
Okay. Well, moving right along. Next.
Regarding Young Justice, Cyborg was given his final upgrade. So hold on, I forgot what it is. It's been a week or so since I last watched Young Justice, so a lot of it has escaped my memory.
I assume he got the rest of his cybernetic implants. Yeah, I assume, because I haven't watched it either. I hadn't caught up either.
Gotcha. Alrighty.
Like I said, I assume. I'm not entirely sure, because that would be the only other.
If you haven't caught up, I'm not even going to talk about it. Just go. Go on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next up. Well, I mean, this is less of a thing than not, because hell, they put him on the show, and they had him a one way, so it was going to be eventually they're going to give him a more classic form. That being the case, so that's not a big shocker.
You're still not caught up yet, so I can't even.
I know.
Okay, I can make jokes about the ending. Okay.
Okay.
Because what I mentioned last week still applies.
Right. I know.
You don't know how they resolve that storyline that I thought they were going to carry over into the next season. Okay.
I'll let you know this, or maybe sometime this weekend. You'll know when I know. Swamp Thing concept art showcases the series Demonic Blue Devil. So this looks like Aaron Zirik. Was he going to be Blue Devil? I guess so. Huh. Weird. So artist Jared S. Morantz released new concept art for the Blue Devil from DC Universe's canceled Swamp Thing series, which I guess that means that, hey, if that show was allowed to live, they would have brought in Blue Devil. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if you're watching the video, you can see the photos from Mr. Morantz's Instagram. So, you know what? I both love and hate when it was like, hey, this is the thing that could have been had things that happened, because they were doing that with Young Justice before it actually happened. So it's a positive and a negative, but at the same time, some of them are like we've talked about before. It's like, okay, really, we don't know if this stuff was actually going to happen, if the thing was going to keep on, because you didn't really put it out there to where it was going to be something. In this case, it's different because that show didn't live long enough to get in to make any traction.
Right.
Anyway, next up. First trailer for Harley
I was
Quinn.
gonna say, I
What's
think
that?
mine.
So what?
I think this is mine. Report. First trailer for Harley Quinn-led Harley Quinn-led Birds of Prey arrives soon. So apparently it's set to come out next week, to be released alongside the It film in theaters.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that rumor, until it happens, we don't know. So, sure, okay. I don't know. I have a slight curiosity about that movie, but at the same time, it's like,
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, hey, Margot Robbie, do your thing. Joker. Oh Jesus, this thing again. I forgot.
Is that why you wanted to jump and take my turn?
No, that was not really, but sure.
It's okay.
Joker as Mark Maron continues to slam superhero movies, then backs down. Maybe finally somebody got to him and said, "Hey, shut up! You're in a superhero movie. If you still want this paycheck, maybe you should shut the hell up."
Yeah.
But that's too much to ask for. So yeah, so he basically doubled down on the comments he was making last week, which we talked about. Where we don't want to talk about, but he basically says on Twitter, "Oh shit, this feels like a real grown-up movie, going to be awesome." And then, somebody called him out on it.
Okay.
So, and then he goes on to say is he apologizes for calling the person a dummy, saying, "I don't know you at all, and I apologize for calling you a dummy. Been on a roll with a lot of trolls coming at me." Yeah, right. He's the main troll himself. Anyway, just been a little beside myself. Wasn't really thinking. AKA somebody slapped him in the face and said, "Shut up if you want to get paid."
That's right.
Which somebody should have did that after the first thing, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Next up, the first trailer for the Bloodshot movie should release sometime in October, says director Dave Wilson.
I like how they used whoever did this first picture used the Fast and the Furious shot, which, I mean, sure, why not? It's just kind of funny. Composite with this other Bloodshot thing. Yeah. So yeah, apparently we might get a Bloodshot trailer for coming next month. Bloodshot is the Valiant comic book turned into a movie with Vin Diesel.
Yep.
Moving right along. I don't know if there's nothing else to really say about it.
I'm like, yep.
Yeah. Two animated series planned after the movie reboot. So apparently they're going to reboot the Spawn movie and do two more animated series after that. One, but two.
Was there news about the Spawn movie this week?
Outside of this?
Yeah.
Not that I know of, but there's been news in the past about it's a thing it being a thing. But I don't know if there was anything else this week outside of this. If there was, I missed it.
Interesting. Only because I overheard something at the comic shop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm kind of curious as to why we didn't have a story about it. So
because I probably missed it. I know
it's not necessarily the case. It could just be rumor.
Well, there is also that. Sometimes I mean, I still hadn't seen the rumor, so it's either still that. There's apparently a related note in this article saying that McFarlane isn't nervous about making directorial debut, which I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No.
So I don't know if there is anything else. Then
that's fine. Okay. Like I said, I'm not inclined to trust the particular customer that dropped this particular nugget.
Sure. I mean, there's also been news about Spawn 300, which is coming, but
it came out this week.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I'm not. I don't necessarily put a lot of trust in this particular customer of the shop. So
sure, yeah. Sometimes you got to be like that.
Yep.
And that is the end of cinematic news. We're going into the comic book news.
All right, just give me a moment to click back. All right. Scrolling, because I was in the spillover. Star Wars number 72 has been pushed back 3 weeks, which is, I don't know if it's concerning or not, because this series is ending.
Yeah, not really. I mean, yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
It was supposed to come out.
Yeah, it's only
Yeah.
getting pushed back 30 weeks, though. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
Yeah, and like you said, the book is ending anyway, so it's less of a matter. I think this is probably one of the few times that the book's been pushed during this run. I could be wrong about that because it's been a while, but
Right, and it's been going for 7+ issues, so it's been going on. Like you said, it's It's been going on for a while, so it's hard for us to remember if it's been delayed at some point or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still weird to me that this book is going away because, like I said, I half expected them to go through at the very least Return of the Jedi, so which means they could have given this book twice as much legs. But
that might be the next volume. So
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's just I don't know. We'll see. Next up, Marvel reveals why Spider-Woman changes back to her old costume, which I didn't know that happened because I'm not reading Marvel Comics Presents. Da, 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 da.
Right.
That's a reference to Donald Duck Presents.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody will remember that, I'm sure. Was it Donald Duck? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, apparently in Marvel Comics Presents number 8, Jessica goes back to her original costume. And I guess going into Strike Force, which is coming out next month or this month. I thought, well, wait a minute. I thought they had shots of her in the new costume in that one. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So yeah, there's a reason.
Okay.
And if you're reading Marvel Comics Presents, you know why. So. Moving right along.
Yep. Donny Cates and Mark Bagley revisit classic Venom Spider-Man stories. So in December's Venom 21 is going to refer to a classic Spidey story that features Venom, and apparently it's going to be a riff on Spider Island,
which I have still yet to read.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that, as far as I know, it didn't have anything to do with Spider-Verse.
Right.
As far as I know. Actually, wait, didn't Spider Island come before Spider-Verse, right?
Can't remember.
It's a blur because I think there was I think it came after it because I think Spider-Verse happened and then like a couple of years back, did Spider Island happen? Yeah, that was like a little contained event, and then of course, yeah. But regardless, I hadn't read it because I still hadn't finished reading Spider-Verse, but I already know what happens in Spider-Verse, so it kind of doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. So regardless, yeah, that happens. And if you're watching the video, you can see this classic Spider-Man cover with Venom holding up a skull with Spidey's head attached, or Spidey's mask attached, I guess. So that was a good cover. But yeah, that's a thing. Move right along. Go ahead.
No, this is yours.
No, you take it.
Okay. Spider-Man just diagnosed the problem with Ghost Spider's powers. So this was in the first issue. I think I discussed it actually.
Which is why I wanted you to take it. But...
I gotcha. Yeah, so basically Ghost Spider been dealing with some malfunctioning spider powers, which are based on being bonded with a type of symbiote from her universe, and Spidey basically figures out what her problem is with it and what she needs to do to keep up.
It's kind of funny because so she wears headphones, so the sonic part should have kept her safe. I'm just that's slightly a joke. Mm-hmm. But so anyway, so that's the thing.
She also plays the drums in a band.
Exactly. So I'm saying there's enough sonic distortion to where it's like, anything,
right?
But, and we're
right, but it's not about right. Exactly. What it's not what what you're implying.
Sure, I know, but
yeah, it's actually an interesting. It was actually an interesting take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
From what I saw from the panel, it looks more like a Kill la Kill type situation, but I don't know because I hadn't read it. Mm-hmm. And if I know you don't, but if you've ever seen the anime Kill la Kill, you already know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a weird one. But I would suggest you. Actually, no, you don't. Never mind. We'll talk about that later. Prepare for all hells to break loose in Ghost Rider #1. So there's a new Ghost Rider series coming out that Ed Brisson's writing, and it's going to star Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch. So, and it says here, sometimes an older sibling will give younger sibling a great new comics to read or classic albums to listen to, and sometimes an older sibling will give a younger sibling a demonic curse, the spirit of vengeance, and the title of Ghost Rider. Excuse me. And that sounds like what's going to be at play in this new book. And then the rest of it is like an article with Brisson about the book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Ed Brisson and Aaron Cooter on art. So, and apparently Johnny Blaze is still the current King of Hell, and no word on whether this has anything, unless it says something in the article, no word on whether this has anything to do with what's going on in
Adventures, right?
Mm-hmm. Currently. So, but we'll see. Ghost Riders fans rejoice. Doesn't sound like Robbie's going to be a part of this book unless he comes in at some point. But also, we still don't know what's going on with the adventure, so it may not be a factor. Next up,
Kylo Ren appears to follow Luke Skywalker's footsteps to Dagobah in Star Wars Age of Resistance Supreme Leader Snoke #1 preview. So Snoke's brutal training of Kylo Ren begins in this comic, and we'll see how that all unfolded.
So I know you started reading, which I'm still slightly surprised about. You started reading some of these books.
I wanted to. I haven't gotten to it yet. It's on my to-do list.
I got you. It's okay.
Only because it's canon. You know what I mean? And it's and it's interesting to maybe fill in some of the gaps before the new movie. I've got until December, obviously.
Wait, are you specifically doing the Age of Resistance stuff, like the stuff that's with the current trilogy, or are you going all the way?
Here and there, mostly with the current trilogy, just to, like I said, fill in some of the gaps that they're looking to fill.
Sure. I haven't, well, this one's not out yet, and I haven't read this one yet. But this one from the preview seemed like it may or may not, because I've talked in the past about a lot of these books really don't give you any new information or anything substantial, I don't believe, personally.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them here and there, and fill in some neat stuff that you didn't know about in the past or whatever it may be. But largely, some of them are just like, okay, well, here's some stories from that happened to them back in the past. No real bearing. Keep it pushing. This one might seem a little different. We don't know. Stay tuned, because there's a bunch of them I hadn't read. I kind of specifically stopped reading a lot of those, even though there has been a couple of them that I've been wanting to read. But like I said, largely a lot of them just kind of pass by. But we'll see. We'll both get caught up. Next up, crap, hold on. Okay, I got it. Marvel teases a major murder mystery to close out 2019. And for looking at this picture, slightly reminded me of Identity Crisis. If you know that reference.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, I'm not saying that is the case, but I'm just saying. So what we see here, if you're watching the video, is a poster picture / of various heroes, including Valkyrie. So Jane Foster, members of the Fantastic Four, and a couple of Avengers, and a body on a table covered in a sheet. So somebody gonna die. And I was gonna say, like, looking at the outline of the picture, we don't know if it's female or not. But apparently, we'll find out. Incoming.
Yes,
is the name of the event. And I guess so I'm guessing this is that event because they did say there was going to be another event this year that we did not know about at the time, because they were remember there was a few months back where they were kind of outlining the events, and they said there was another unnamed one.
I think so.
I'm assuming this is it. And the tagline here is, "Can you solve the puzzle before the heroes of the Marvel Universe?" So somebody's gonna die. Thankfully, it's not Bill Foster, because he's already dead.
No,
because they didn't. Well, I mean, that one didn't need to be solved because we know who killed him.
That's right.
Tony and them.
It was Clore.
Wait, who?
Clore.
Oh, the Clone Thor. Sure. No, it was Tony and them because they made him. Anyway, So,
All
but that's a whole thing from Civil War. Go do your history. So this was coming, like I said, December 26th. And that was just a teaser that another teaser.
Mhm.
Oh, this is a part of that other teaser that dropped. I think we talked about last week or a while back. Regardless, we talked about the other teaser. So I guess this is along with that on another end. So yeah. Next.
Alrighty. Next up, Jim Lee recreated his iconic Heroes Reborn Namor Fantastic Four vision. So this was posted on his Instagram, where he posted a new drawing of Namor on an undersea throne. The original image referenced is in Fantastic Four, the Heroes Reborn series #2, for back in '96.
Yes, folks. If you're keeping track, that's the second reference to Heroes Reborn we've had this episode.
Crazy.
Slightly unintentional, or was it?
Oh no.
Dun, dun, dun. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, if you're watching the video, you can see the picture in question. And some of you out there lusting after it. Go for it. Joe Sinnott to be honored in hometown celebration. It's a celebration, peoples. The city of Socrates.
Socrates, yeah.
Yeah, well, sure.
You made it sound like Socrates.
I know. That was unintentional. We'll honor artist Joe Sinnott in a ceremony. Well, excuse me. They honored him in a ceremony on August 31st because it's already passed. In which Sinnott will be presented the Proud of Ulster County. Is it Ulster County? Because some of y'all have some strange pronunciations of stuff.
No, it's Ulster County.
Okay, I don't know. Y'all say Houston and it's Houston, but whatever. County Award, according to Hudson Valley One. Sinnott is best known for his work inking Jack Kirby on Marvel Comics' Fantasy Four from 44 to 102, staying on after Kirby left for a tenure on the title that lasted until 81. So yeah, this is a name to be known if you are a Marvel / Fantasy Four fan.
All right.
Sinnott announces a retirement from comic books at the age of 92 in May of this year after 69 years in the industry. And he was still going up until this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And like I said, the celebration's already been had, so you missed it, just like we missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, 69. Anyway, which is not the first person that we've seen that has had. Anyway, well, whatever. That's a weird one. Not just because of the whatever the numbering is, but Next,
the Marvel Avengers game, video game, offers a detailed look at at their rendition of Captain America in a new video. So yeah, this has been one of the more controversial game design aspects of game design,
and I still don't know why.
It looks.
I know why, but I don't know why because I understand the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to be inspired by the real world stuff, I'm like, wait, you have Thor and Iron Man in this. You don't need the real world. Just go with the comics.
But see, what Marvel Games has come up and said that they wanted to go
their own way.
Yeah, they want to go their own way, which is why Spider-Man was the way it was, and this, all games going forward from there, is kind of doing the same thing. So I don't know. It'll still work. People will still play it.
Oh, yeah, you'll still play it because you don't see the clunkiness until you see it as a still.
Yeah. Well, again, that's also it's not a finished product. So
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. And I think there's another. I didn't put it in here, but there was there were potential spoilers in the Captain America gameplay, which I'm not sure how that. I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched it, so I don't know. But apparently there might have been some sort of spoiler for the game in that gameplay, which I'm not sure how you know until you get to the game. Anyway, next.
All right, next up, Marvel Entertainment is going to has unveiled its 2019 Comic-Con panel lineup.
Hey, wait, did you miss one?
Oh no, I missed. Oh, sorry, Hot Toys.
Yeah,
I missed one because I was looking away watching the Packers against the Bears.
Oh,
Sorry, folks.
sports ball.
Yes. Hot Toys debuted Contest of Champions Hulking Venom Pool premium figure, and that's another reason why I skipped it.
Yes, not a fan of the games. I get it. Which Contest of Champions game? That's a decent one. So yeah, this is the figure that was born out of that game, and now it's a figure.
Okay.
And as you can see the figure here. If you're watching the video, if you care, go for it whenever it comes out. It is kind of big. It's 14 inches tall and has 20 points of articulation. So, yay. Marvel's NYCC plans include Disney Plus World Premiere, Dawn of X announcements, and more. So, yeah, when is New York?
October 4th?
Okay, so Disney Plus will debut like a month and a half later.
Right. So
or a month and some change later, not a half, but
right. Yeah. So it's going to be that the first weekend in October, I believe.
Mm.
And
here we go. Yeah, Thursday, October 3rd through Sunday the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and this is Marvel's lineup for that event. You know, some of the usual stuff. Cup of Joe happened, and next big thing, and Marvel Games panel, obviously. So, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, a little bit more on the upcoming X stuff, which I'd be curious to see about that one, because I think we will have just, we'll just finish the whole House Powers of thing around that time. So yeah. Cool. Next up, Funko reveals its Marvel exclusive for New York Comic Con 2019. So there's Iron Man one if you're watching this one, and then there's the Guardians of the Galaxy Stan Lee figure, and a few other bits of merch, including our old OG Miss Marvel one.
Nice.
And Marvel and OG Nick Fury.
Oh. Wow.
Which I don't think they've ever had before. I'm not sure.
I guess I'm going to have to enter for the chance to buy those. Because that's the kicker about those exclusives, man.
Yeah.
That's the kicker. Like, every once in a while, if you come back late in the day, a less popular exclusive will still be on the shelves and they'll let you in and buy it. But more often than not, the stuff that's exclusive gets scooped up exceedingly quickly.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Lotteries to get in. So we'll see. Maybe they've done it the way they did with the way Hasbro did it with the Matt Wang 97, where you can enter into a lottery to get assigned a time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they, because that's how they've been doing things with these bigger cons for a while now. They started with San Diego, and I think they moved on to New York, where you just have to go with your badge and apply for a slot.
Right.
So
yeah, so if you're watching the video, you can see me clicking through the slideshow, which includes the figures that has been that we just talked about. So cool. And
that's cool, Stanley.
Yeah. That one's cute. I like it. And there's also, what wasn't mentioned was there's a Dark Phoenix one, which I don't know how I feel about that one. Because it's, granted, it's a Funko Pop, so they're kind of, dare I say, I like Funko Pops, but they're kind of cheaply made, and but they can do that because most of the figures kind of look like it. But that one seems like, all right, you didn't really have to do that much to it, more than usual. So anyway, but that's it. So you go forth and wreak havoc. I still need to do something with all these pops I got. Jugheads of the Multiverse unite in Jugheads Time Police #4. So apparently there's, heaven forbid, there's a multiverse of Jugheads. And they're all going to meet in this one book.
Okay.
Or they're going to finally meet in this one book. I'm not sure. Says here, Jughead stranded on the deserted timeline, one without burgers or hot dogs or any meat couched in bread. He's got to find some way to get back to the future to prevent an all-out war between the time streams. But can he do it alone?
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly. So it's going to be the Council of Junkheads.
Gosh.
There seems to be a lot of that lately. I know I'm catching up with the Flash, and there was an episode with the Council of Wales, and just that's the thing. Anyway, next up.
So apparently, creator Brian Wood has been accused of sexual misconduct again.
Mm-hmm.
Writer and editor Laura Hudson came forward on Twitter with a accusation against writer Brian Wood, who is currently writing several series for Dark Horse Comics.
Who have just after this came out stopped their involvement with him, but the fact that he's been getting work all these years under many allegations, or it's kind of telling in its own right.
Gotcha.
For them to just have start this, because the thing around the Twitterverse, people were like, it's not like it's first, and that, which I knew too, because I know this is not the first time we may have even talked about this, that he's been accused. So sometimes it's smoke when there's smoke, there's fire. And why has he been getting work? Because there's a bigger problem with the industry. Next up, Hellboy making holiday visit to Savannah, Georgia for Mignola and Hughes' holiday special. This is a different one from a different book from the one we talked about last week. This one is called No, that's the other one. Or is it? Oh, here we go. Hellboy Krampusnacht. There we go.
Okay.
Reuniting for an all-new one-shot, that being Mike Mignola and Adam Hughes for this one-shot. As well as the other one that we talked about last week. So, cool. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, Transformers Galaxies sees the Constructicons deciding the future. So this is a proposed book that's going to explore.
Well, it's not proposed. It's coming out next month, I believe. Or it's been solicited, so it's coming out.
I gotcha. In December.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's either November. I think in November. I can't remember. It's either next month or December, because I know I've been seeing things on it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so yeah, this is going to follow. So yeah, guess what? We're getting more Transformers books than the one that's out now, which was inevitable, I assume. So yeah, apparently, they're following the world against the full spark. Cybertron remains in ruins, and I don't know if that has anything that doesn't sound like anything that's going on with the current book. But yeah, regardless, they got a creative team. It's a thing that's coming. Have at it. Yes, I will probably be reading it. Next up, going back to what we talked about, or at least alluded to way earlier in the program, Transformers Unicron HasLab project campaign extended through NYCC. So yes, HasLabs is the Hasbro crowdsourcing program. We talked about this big behind Unicron probably weeks ago, a month ago, I can't remember. That's going for like $500 some odd.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're extending it, which kind of says that it's probably didn't make this goal, and as to why it didn't. Oh, all right, let me phrase that. It didn't make its goal, but they're still kind of going ahead with it, or not necessarily going ahead with it, extending it so they could try to get ahead with it. Let's see. At the time of the writing, the campaign has received donations from 5,575 backers. The target goal is 8,000. I'm assuming backers, not money. So that doesn't necessarily say whether it made it or not, just that they wanted that number of backers. And I can check this out if I chose to. I'm not going to do that. Maybe later. But yeah, I would like this. I would like this thing. I'm not paying that much money. It's ridiculous.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
You know, like I don't know how much a USS Flag would cost nowadays.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because that was the big toy that if you had that, you were the coolest. And back then, that was like what, a little bit over $100.
Probably. And obviously, Masterpiece Transformers are easily 150 a pop.
Right, exactly, and that's for the cheaper side.
Mm-hmm. But
Nowadays,
different. Yeah, exactly. It's just the money was different then. But still a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the thing. This is probably the most expensive Transformer. Should it get made, which it probably still will. That's part of why they're trying to extend it also, because like they want this to get made to get out there.
Sure.
So yeah, more power to those folks.
Alrighty. Next up in this week's comics news, Comrade Putin threatens the U.S. with invasion in DC's Doomsday Clock number 11. Yay!
Which that sounds like just real life and not necessarily. Just sounds more ripped from the headlines than not.
Yep.
So yeah, but yeah, apparently Doomsday Clock is. I assume. Well, and y'all talked about this issue earlier, but this wasn't mentioned. Whether it has any bearing of, in the story going forward, who knows?
Yep.
Next up, why did y'all did not? No, shut up. Just joking. How Justice League's JSA is connected to Doomsday Clock. JSA, according to Scott Snyder, was also coming from Doomsday Clock number 11. Again, I have not read it. And you and Dirt have, so
yep,
you can probably.
No thanks.
Okay, well, never mind. Wait, did that issue? I mean, excuse me. Did that panel that Dirt put out come from this issue also?
It was in the back. If you haven't read Doomsday Clock, what's included with the book are these kind of supplementary pieces of like sometimes prose, sometimes like journalism articles, that talk about what's going on in the timeline that's being described.
Is it kind of like in-world articles?
Right. And that's correct. And what I wanted to say is, at least in this, I didn't read, what Scott Snyder had to say about this, but I can see how, the JSA is supposed to be connected to Doomsday Clock because, that's the premise of the story, which is that Dr. Manhattan has done something to alter the timeline, which resulted in the Rebirth history and the New 52 history. So
he said Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sure. Okay. Moving right along.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much. Even PCN_Dirt would be here. Like, nah, I'm not. I don't want to talk about it. It's there. Read the article.
Yeah, I guess. But guess what? We're not done here because Ozymandias's plan, Lex's discovery, Night Owl's fate, spoilers for Doomsday Clock number 11. You know what? Yeah, we just keep going. Things happened.
Yeah. In actual news, though, the next story is something that Roddykat was mentioning, is that Doomsday Clock number 12 is aiming for a November release, according to artist Gary Frank. So that is just a month away. 2 months away, actually, depending on what part of the month it is. So it's it's a big window for Gary Frank to hit. I may end up losing my dollar bet to PCN_Dirt, but let's see.
Oh man, doggone it! Why did we not have that clip in here? From Trading Places. And I totally forgot about the one I was going to put for last week, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's the thing. That's still an ongoing whatever. Next up, Harley Quinn is pregnant with Joker's baby.
What?
Seriously. So before you get your ruffles up, this is from Batman Curse of the White Knight series. So it's Elseworlds.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I still present is this part aside, it's still a good book because like I said, I keep saying that I love that first White Knight series. I did talk about the first issue of this one. This is from the current issue, which came out last week, which I hadn't read at the time. In fact, still hadn't read. So, but yeah, apparently, but apparently Harley is pregnant with the Joker's baby, which kind of made me groan when I saw this, because I was like, okay, even despite the fact that this is Elseworld, I'm like, okay, and even in this universe, like, she was kind of tied to him, but not so much. So, but I get but it's not outside the realm of possibility to see that this has happened. It's not like in the regular universe where she's pretty much trying to cut all ties.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they have a history together, but it was kind of different, and she was still in a different place. The fact that they kind of tied this together was kind of whatever, why they didn't necessarily have to do that. But hey, I assume there's a story reason for it. That said, like I said, I would still say, hey, if you're interested in that universe, go check it out, because it's pretty good art and it's a pretty decent story. At least the first series was. This one's still kind of up in the air. Next up,
IDW alum returns as the direct market sales manager. So that's Rosalind Moorhead has rejoined IDW Publishing, taking on the role of direct market sales manager. So back in 2013 through 2015, she was IDW's PR manager, and subsequent to that, in 15 to 17, she served as the company's director of sales. In the interim, she briefly worked at DC and went back to school. So good for her.
Indeed. Secure that bag, as they say. Or if there's a bag to secure anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Wasted Space gets audiobook adaptation. So this is a Vault Comics book, apparently, that is teaming up with Graphic Audio, A Movie in Your Mind. So I guess they're basically doing the audiobook thing like Marvel's doing. And, well, Marvel, DC, and I mean,
right.
Almost do, but basically they're turning comics to audiobooks. So cool. Good on them. Next.
Alrighty. So Star Trek, the animated series, finally gets its due in a book. So Star Trek, the animated series, never got the love it deserved, and even despite having won an Emmy, and it's going to get some love on September 3rd, when a book entitled Star Trek, the Official Guide to the Animated Series, written by the tandem of Rich Shepis and Aaron Harvey. It's the first and only guide to Star Trek, the Animated Series.
Yeah. And so, if you're of a certain vintage, you will know that Star Trek, the Animated Series is not necessarily canon, because it's not, but it was the series that had the original cast come back to do the voices. It was a animated joint from back in the 70s. It was a Lou Schimmer joint who was behind a lot of the cartoons back in that day. So, and it was good. There were some good things about it. It was cool. I enjoyed it in my youth. I did not know this was on Blu-ray. I might have to pick it up. So, if you are of a certain vintage and you have affinity for it, then go forth and seek that out when this book comes out. Which it is out, apparently, because at the time of this recording, it came out 2 days ago. So, last but not least, in the bit of covering, we do have that one section that we rarely ever talk about. In the variant corner section, Bennett, Yarden, and Casada and more join Strike Force #1 covers lineup. So Strike Force is, speaking of Spider-Woman, is the book we've talked about before. Is going to be a team with Blade and Angela and Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, and a few others on a team. Thankfully, they didn't tie to the Avengers, because it's weird how they tie most of every other team book to the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, so you get to see some preview pages here of said book, or covers actually. So boom, and the book will be out, I think relatively soon, actually. Yeah, September 25th. And that, folks, is the end of the show. One more ad, please, sir.
Last ad of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine?
No.
Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your tastes and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today.
And as we round out the corner of this here show, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out. You don't have anything to
No boxes to open.
No unboxings or anything. Cool. Sweet. Well, guess what, folks? We will be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Right. As we kind of gear up for stuff that's going to drop at New York Comic Con, apparently.
Yes, we still got a little ways away, but sometimes the news hits early, sometimes it'll be right before, like San Diego. Heaven help us. But in this moment, I'd like to let you know that, hey, we have a clickbait section. The show notes should be down in the description of the show, and you should check it out because there's some good stuff to read, including there's like 4 free what ifs from at Comixology that you can go check out from like 2007, I believe it says. So, and they're free. Check them out. You lose nothing. What If is the Marvel series that basically they're going to they're going to make another animated series out of it, but it was a long running series of saying, hey, what if this happened instead of this, if you didn't already know.
Right.
So like I said, check it out, and a couple other things in there. Regardless, check them out. It's cool. Like I said, next week we'll be back, and until then, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat at Roddykats on Twitter, Newsletters Need on Twitter, CB Caps on Instagram, Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram, PCN_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com. I know I was usually say something else after that, but whatever. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, The Click Nation on Twitter. That's DKLIQNATION. CB Cron on Twitter, which is the account for Comic Book Chronicles. Hi, how you doing? I'm not running that one. Tim is. And also Comic Book Resources, the site where he's over there writing his face off. Go click on the stuff, give him some reads. So some good stuff. Yeah, I think he did one of the articles we talked about earlier. You can also find this here program on CSPN.us.
Do it today.
The Coast of the Podcast Network. That's where we ride. That's the place where we rest. It's almost like Brooklyn, except for not. Yeah, I would say the planet of CSPN, but that still wouldn't be right because But you can also find this program on Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Coast of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. Next week, folks, we'll be back like we always do about this time. So stay tuned
with another episode of What is Tim Dog 98's Click of the Week?
Yes, no doubt to shock and amaze and delight you. Mostly not really shock you, but nevertheless, It's good stuff all the way around. So until then, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Oops.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr.